Hello, Action Army. If you're watching this, we're probably dead. Just kidding. We're here. It's probably a pre-tape, though, because we had to do this because of a busy spring and summer season for Andrew and myself traveling. We're covering The Dark Knight today. No, that's not true. We're covering The Dark Knight Rises today. We covered The Dark Knight. It was great. We're so crazy. We're going to see you in a second talking The Dark Knight Rises.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Action Movie Anatomy.
Boom!
Ding, 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 ding. At least this is a normal intro.
This is great. Did you guys like that intro?
I'll be taking over the intros from now on. It's because we're so excited.
Because we're so excited.
There couldn't be an easier episode for us to do of this show.
We're pumped up. Well, yeah.
I don't know, man.
It does nicely hit the kind of in-between of, like, it's not a movie that's in our top 3 or 5 most important movies. So it's not like Warrior or like The Rock, where we feel like this obligation to do it right.
Right.
It's sort of like, it's just a movie that we both love a lot and, like, is so quotable.
Yeah, and it's the thing that's more quotable about it than The Dark Knight, I think, is that doing Bane's voice is fun, whereas if you do the Joker's voice wrong, people are just kind of like, you sound like an idiot.
You're dumb, Andrew.
Yeah, why are you trying so hard, Ben?
So yes, we are here. It's Action Movie Anatomy. We're talking The Dark Knight Rises. As you guys know, we expanded the rules on the show of the movies we're going to allow ourselves to do, and so we have done now a bunch of movies in the comic book sort of genre, and this one fits the bill. We wanted to make sure we had this, as I mentioned, it's a pre-tape, in the can, so that at any point in time, if we absolutely had to miss a week, you guys didn't miss a week, and you would get an episode, and it would be in a movie that we freaking love.
Yeah, it'd be an amazing episode. So we don't know where you are. We don't know what day. I mean, I'm sure it's a Wednesday. We don't know what month it is. But we are talking The Dark Knight Rises, one of our absolute favorites. I'm Andrew Ghai.
I'm Ben Bateman. You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media, Twitter and Instagram. And also, if you want to follow along with the show, you can find the show Twitter at AMA Podcast. And on top of that, we have a Facebook fan page.
So many things.
It's a cool fan page. Our loyal, incredible, wonderful fans. You know, I wish we had congratulated Jonas
I'm becoming a moderator earlier.
on the last episode.
Yeah, because we don't know when this one's airing.
This might air in 3 months.
This could be airing in 2020. Jonas, congratulations.
When that happened to you, Jonas, it was a big deal.
It's a big deal for everybody.
Congratulations. And so, yes, we are here to talk about this movie, and you can find us all over the place. We have a patreon.com/Team Action. We talk about movie stuff on our own channel, on our own place. You can go find that if you donate $5. You can, talk about movies and send in your top 5 lists. We'll break them down on the videos for you, and that's the thing we do. So, this show covers action movies that adhere to 4 basic rules.
It does, and this one is gonna be it's gonna be close. It's not gonna make it rules though. So rule number 1: the hero always plays by their own rules. He's Batman.
Yes.
He is the definition of playing by his own rules. The only thing that could play by their rules more would be as if Denzel played Batman.
The hero and the villain are always the smartest people, beings, things, dinosaurs, what have you, in the room. Bane's a genius. He's a tactical genius. So is Batman.
And technically, since Miranda Tate is the true villain, she is actually the smartest person in the room as well.
Do you mean Talia al Ghul?
Wait, why did I say Miranda Tate?
That's what the name she goes by until you find out that she's
Oh,
Talia
yeah.
al
No,
Ghul.
that's her name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't correcting you. I was merely adding to the conversation.
Like, why do I feel? Rule number 3: the movie is driven by police, military, or political figure. It misses there. He's a vigilante.
He's a vigilante. Yeah. Rule number 4: the movie contains a minimum of 1 explosion. Yeah, 1 exploding football field.
Yeah, one exploding football field, planes blowing up. I mean, if it's a Nolan movie with Batman in it, there's going to be things blowing up.
Yes, absolutely. So, once again, guys, this is the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network dedicated to talking movies, all things movie related, and doing pop culture by the bucket. I'm struggling.
Are you okay?
Today. I'm having a hard time
stroke?
today.
Yeah, and without further ado, we're going to hop into an excellent trailer.
Excellent trailer.
Yeah. Stop talking.
I auditioned for this role.
Did you? I can see you going to the last call.
You are as
Final
precious
round.
to me as you were to your own mother and father.
precious to
I
me.
swore to them that I would protect you, and I haven't.
Michael Caine crying voice is pretty fantastic.
Yes. There are some bad things about this movie. There are some. The reason this movie is so misunderstood by people and is so underrated is that it has some very, very bad scenes. It has some, like, a couple parts of the movie are like, this didn't need to be in the movie.
Storm coming, Mr. Wayne.
Really?
I think this movie misses in some major parts. Yeah, there's some parts of it that are like really ridiculous. It's overly long in some ways.
What?
We'll talk.
Yeah, we will. I'm very curious to see.
I can't stand the Alfred, I didn't give you the letter scene.
Yeah, I don't like
Goodbye,
that.
Alfred.
Yeah,
Super heavy-handed.
I don't like that Alfred is anything other than completely dedicated to Wayne in this movie.
I also
It
like,
bothers
don't
me.
like Alfred in this movie very much because I also dislike his. It's my time to tell you another story.
Yeah, about and then
Here's another monologue.
Yeah,
What does
yeah.
that mean?
Rise.
So sweet.
Yeah,
that's honestly Heinz Ward's greatest run.
When Gotham is ashes, you have my permission to die.
God, it looks so sick.
Yeah. This movie was a really, really big deal when it was.
Oh, it was the biggest of deals, you know?
It's about as hyped as it gets.
What comes after the Joker? You know, like what could possibly be as good? And how can you end this trilogy?
And don't forget that he had done Inception between movies.
Which is also just insane that he decided to just do Dark Knight, Inception, Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, he had done
And
Inception
then
between
Prestige
movies.
was in 2008?
Six. So it
8
goes
was-
back. It
yeah.
goes Begins, Prestige, Dark Knight, Inception, Rises. It's a hell of a run.
I mean, there's a reason why he's basically the greatest living director now.
Yeah, I would agree. So upcoming today on the show, guys, we are going to talk about all of the fun things that you have come to know and love on the show as well. So we are going to compare the opening two scenes, the opening scene to Dark Knight and the opening scene to Dark Knight Rises, as well as a comparison of villains, Bane versus the Joker. I know you think you know the answer to that question, but stay tuned. You'll hear us break that discussion down for you in full. Let's get into thesis statement. This
Yeah.
is your biggest, boldest thought about the film. It is the thing that you would talk about at a party. If the subject came up and you wanted to talk about this movie, you say, I'm going to talk to you about this because this is the thing you need to know. It's the greatest, this, the only, this should never be. My favorite scene in the movie is this. If that's the case and you can really sell me on your favorite scene, then it should just be the greatest scene.
The
You
greatest
should sell
scene
me on
ever.
it.
Yes.
Ever.
So for me, I'm going to go in and I'm going to. So I had trouble with one, and that was basically that, like, the way that they handle the demise of the villains in the trilogy,
Yep.
in the Dark Knight trilogy, is the most lazy part of the entire trilogy. It is the only one that they have any excuse on. It is obviously Heath Ledger because
Yep.
he died. Other than that, Two-Face, I actually like Ra's al Ghul's death, but most people think it's stupid.
That's where he's on the
The
subway,
train at the end,
Yeah,
and mind your surroundings. He's like, I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you. I
Yeah.
love that. I love it personally.
Yeah.
Bane gets shot by the bat bike when he's about to kill Batman, and then Talia gets like they're all kind of sloppy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it
The
feels
bad bike.
it just feels like I don't think that's like a really good thesis. Like I feel like it's kind of too loose, right?
Yeah.
So then my real thesis is on paper and in performance, Anne Hathaway as Selena Kyle is the best cast in the entire trilogy.
Whoa. That's insane.
No, it's not. Do you remember how people acted when Heath Ledger got cast as the Joker?
Yeah.
There was outrage.
Yep.
People were up in arms. That's why I said on paper, and in performance. Not
Both.
just on performance.
Like, you think that when she was announced, you were like, that's perfect.
I think that when she was announced, I was like, that makes sense. And then watching it, she's perfect. Whereas, like, you see Heath Ledger and you're like, okay, no. And
Right.
then you watch it, you're like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing ever. Tom Hardy is Bane. You're like, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's not going to be as good as the Joker. The way he plays it is excellent. But her as Catwoman, as Selena Kyle, her meek, trembling voice, her sexiness, her badassery,
Yeah.
her screaming when the cops come in.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
She does such a great job of balancing power,
Yeah.
prowess, and meekness
Yeah.
in this performance.
Her sex appeal that she manages to, like, wield as a tool in this movie. She is really impressive as Catwoman.
The only person I've ever seen on screen with Batman where I'm like, can you keep up, bro?
Yeah.
No one else.
Yeah,
Not
totally.
even the old Selena Kyle, even though I love, what is her name? I'm forgetting it right
Michelle
now.
Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer. But it's just not. So for me, and again, you got to remember on paper and performance, the best cast in the entire trilogy.
I think that one problem with her in the movies has less to do with her and more to do with the fact that she has absolutely zero chemistry with Christian Bale. The two of them together don't really do anything for me. They're like, they just don't.
But I don't think it's because of her. I think it's because of him.
Yeah, maybe.
And I think it's because he, as Batman's one of those things, it's like you don't really want to see Ethan Hunt or Batman have sex with someone.
Yeah.
You just don't.
I never want to see Tom Cruise have sex with anything.
Unless it's himself.
Weird. What's going on with the show today? All right, let's continue moving on with the show.
I almost just lost it all.
Yeah.
I'm going to spit it all out. What's your
Thesis statement is that we will never again in our lifetime see a comic book trilogy as great as the Dark Knight trilogy, ever again. And I'll defend that. I'll explain why.
I
So
don't think you need to.
what?
You don't need to, but
You just agree?
I think so.
Yeah.
Comic book trilogy, yeah.
Because like, here's the thing. You don't get that many directors like Christopher Nolan ever in a lifetime. You just don't see that many. There's a lot of great directors, and there's a lot of people who like we've talked about a lot of these different directors. When we did Master and Commander recently, Peter Weir is a great director. Love Peter Weir. We talk about Danny Boyle. We talk about Catherine Bigelow. We talk about directors that are
Soderbergh. Like, there's a lot of directors that we've talked about on this show and just in the careers of watching movies.
Yeah, and also directors that do genre films. Everybody from John Singleton and Tyler Perry to
Tony Scott.
Yeah,
even.
exactly. Everybody has a different flavor, and there's a kind of general proficiency that keeps you working as a director. But when you really start to look at the directors who have consistent careers, like long careers with more than one or two great movies, like we ranked David Fincher's top movies on an episode of our Patreon recently.
Yeah.
Arena threw out her top 5. We started talking about that. It's like you're looking at those 5 movies and you're like, that's truly a masterwork 5 films. With Nolan, you can say something similar. And so to get a director like that to commit to making a trilogy of comic book movies, it's just not something you ever get.
Especially when it's written and directed by him and his brother, essentially. Like, the writing, again, if you even take away Nolan as a director,
Yeah.
him and his brother as writers are some of the greatest ever as well.
So to even have something on the same level as this, I mean, I was thinking about this. I was like, this is a better trilogy than the Captain America trilogy
Which is
so far.
the only other one
Which
that
is
I
a
think is in
really
close
good
contention.
trilogy.
But it's not like Civil War is not a Captain America movie.
No,
know?
and this is just a much better trilogy. It's,
Yeah.
it's more impactful. Winter Soldier is like a good enough movie to put on the same level as these movies. Civil War is like a shade behind.
Thor is not even close.
No.
Maybe Black Panther. Maybe.
I mean, or
Who
Wonder
knows?
Woman if they
Yeah,
can
or
name
Wonder
it.
Woman.
But it's just hard. The stakes are so much more real when Batman is just a regular guy, and these movies are masterworks. They're like truly incredible. I mean, we're going to talk about the opening scenes.
Yeah.
In fact, before I'll move on because I want to
okay.
talk about everything. So, fist pump moment is our next segment on the show, and this movie has a lot.
There's so many fist pump moments in this movie.
Bane. Fist pump
all
moment is that
Bane,
moment in the
yeah.
movie, something happens, you look around, you're like, are you seeing this right now? This is the coolest thing I have ever seen, literally. I get to watch the rest of this movie. I'm so fucking pumped.
There's so many in this one, and most of them come from one scene for me. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, when do you want to do ultimate action scene? Because I almost think we should just start with it.
Yeah, let's
We
just do it now.
watched the
So
yeah.
back in the day, even though we just watched the trailer, we did a thing called Ultimate Action Scene when we first started the show. And it was the idea that we were going to take one scene from every movie and do the ultimate action scene from it.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. It was a better idea.
There
We
were
did a
some
bunch
fun
of them. It was
ones.
good, but this movie seems perfect. And it's the first time that Batman and Bane meet and they battle right after Miss Selena Kyle betrays him. We're going to cue up our ultimate action scene right now, and I think both of our fist pumps are probably in here.
I have like 12 fist pump.
Not as serious as yours.
Not as serious
I
as
fear.
yours.
We could just talk like him for the rest of
Yeah.
this.
So awesome.
He's so jacked.
Gained
Let's
20
not stand on
pounds.
ceremony here.
But he's like a little guy.
Yeah, he's really not that
Wayne.
big, but then with Warrior in this movie, he got
5'9".
Yeah.
I could kick Tom Hardy's ass.
this. So the opening of this scene, where he just lets Batman
This
hit
has
him.
cost you your strength. Victory has defeated you.
The way he talks is just so
It's
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
The cadence, like. So my first fist pump is coming up right now. It's block, kick, throw him over the edge, and it's the way that Batman lands.
Yeah.
And then Hardy climbs down the
Down,
chain.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
my first fist pump.
Yeah.
He's so jacked, and he's just like, you can fly, cool. Don't need to.
I'll be a hair slower than you, but more controlled, and
Yeah.
I'll just climb down this chain.
Beat you.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of my favorite
Yeah.
shots right there.
Yeah.
They show the guy because he's like looking down like uncomfortably. He's like, this is so sad to watch.
Yeah, and also it's probably horrifying
Yeah.
that there's this person that's this evil that just beats the shit out of Batman hand to hand.
Like they're terrified. They're scared of him. How could they not be? Follow him, then I will kill you.
Theatricality and
Deception.
powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are initiated.
Aren't we, Bruce? Second fist pump when he says his name again. Aren't we, Bruce?
And you betrayed us.
Third fist pump. Feet off the ground being carried by Bane.
Yeah.
By a gang of psychopaths.
Christian Bale is such a bitch in this scene.
Yeah, he really is.
I am the League of Shadows. I'm here
What a
to
weird
fulfill
guy
Ra's
Tom
al
Hardy
Ghul's
is.
destiny.
Yeah. I saw him make a tweet yesterday that I'd love to talk about.
Oh, yeah?
Or it was recently, yeah. I'll write that down.
Just like doesn't even flinch.
Fight like a younger man. There's nothing held back. It's admirable, but mistaken.
One of the best.
Yeah.
Fight like
This-
a much younger man.
You think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Molded by it.
Molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding.
It's so sick.
This is my next ultimate fist pump.
Shadows betray you
Right here.
because they belong to me.
Crack.
Cracks the
Oh!
mask.
I just can't even.
Yeah.
I will show you where I have made my home whilst preparing to bring justice.
Just a quick little fuck you to throw in there
Yeah,
while
yeah.
he's dying. Oh, we're stealing everything that's yours.
Oh, precious armory.
Precious armory.
Gratefully accepted.
Gratefully accepted. We will need it.
Incredible.
Yeah, he's just so matter of fact. And then the last line, or
Ah, yes. I was wondering what would break first.
Spirit.
Spirit. Oh, your buddy.
oh god, you have a vertebrae protruding from your back. All right, Marissa, that's perfect.
So
Thank
sick.
you so much.
Hard for that not to be the fist pump.
There's so many incredible moments
Yeah,
in that.
this movie. I mean, that whole scene. This scene's amazing.
Yeah.
So many of those lines. I also love on the airplane at the beginning. The
Yeah.
first time you hear Bane's voice.
The first line is incredible.
And he, you're not gonna talk, are you? Not gonna talk. It's like, you might wonder why you shoot a man before throwing him out of a plane.
And the guy's like, shit, he grabs
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
It's so good.
It's such a weird choice that and they must have made the choice because he was so hard to understand to go in and like augment ADR's
everything,
voice.
yeah.
Because they ADR every line, right?
Every single line, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I remember the first time I watched it and the first moment when you hear the or perhaps he was wondering why you shoot him in.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, oh.
Yeah, because it sounds weird.
It does, and especially in the theater, it was so magnified.
And
it
jarring,
It
yeah.
almost sounded bad. Almost.
But it's honestly grown on me as time's gone on.
I've watched this movie the most in
Yeah.
the trilogy. It's the one I turn on in the background more than any other one.
Interesting.
Because Batman Begins, you got to pay more attention to. Dark Knight pulls you in too much.
Yeah.
This one, you can just hear Bane being awesome.
Dark Knight, I've also like...
The last act is really hard to care
Yeah,
about.
and also it's weird, like, I don't know if it's kind of like if there's an album that you really, really love from a great artist
Dark
and you've
Side.
listened to it so many times,
Yeah.
and it's also the most listened to and discussed album. And then there's like the longer follow-up album that comes out.
Yeah.
That's like just like way weirder and it's got way more stuff to it. And you fall in love with that one
Yeah.
because you haven't heard it as many times. There's more to it. That's kind of how I feel about Rises. Is like, I guess I feel more affection for a lot of it because I haven't watched it as many times. And like Dark Knight's at this point hard to discuss anymore because
it's the greatest comic book movie ever made.
we
Period.
just talked about it so much,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
many times. So yeah, that's
So I said like 6 fist pumps. Did you have one that you wanted to throw out, or is it just the beginning, the shoot him in before throw him out of a plane?
I mean, so many of them. One that I would go with that I really, really, really do love though is I love when he's like Ben Mendelsohn's like, you know, walking around using my cement crews, that's not making me any money.
Yeah.
And he's like, leave us. And he's like, no, stay. I'm in charge. And he puts his hand on his shoulder. And
Yeah,
he
he
goes,
rests the back of his hand on his shoulder.
He rests his hand on his shoulder and he's like, do you feel in charge? That's like one of the best moments in the whole movie.
That really is.
It's such a strange move.
Because it's like if you put your back, that's like literally the weakest thing you can do.
Yeah.
And even that would probably be horrifying. For him to even touch you with his hand would be horrifying.
Just incredible. Yeah, that scene, there's like that moment. I also love when they're in the sewers and he's like, Gordon shows up and he's like, and you brought him here. And he's like,
Why?
He goes, search him, then I will kill you.
Yeah, he just grabs it, search him, and then I will kill you. I'd be like,
Yeah.
no.
So there's awesome pretty.
What if I search him really well? Will you not kill me?
follow him? And just shoots him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best thing ever.
So I think I just want to do it then. We're starting the conversation anyway. What is the more enjoyable performance for you between Bane
And Joker?
and Heath Ledger's Joker? More enjoyable, because I think without a doubt the greater performance is Heath Ledger as the Joker. You know, he wins the posthumous Oscar. It's the greatest villain probably ever.
Yeah, I mean he is the most iconic villain other than Darth Vader ever created.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
And they are, yeah, the two of them are like he's just referenced as many times as he ever could be, and he will continue to be, and he's one of the transcendent performances of all time.
Yeah, and he deserves all that recognition. But
at this point, it's like when I watch the movies, what am I more entertained by?
yeah,
And it's still Joker for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Love
Yeah.
Bane. I love Bane. I do. And I feel like a lot of people think this movie is underrated, and a lot of people don't like Bane in this movie.
so let's break it down just a hair. So we got each character's first line.
Yes.
I think
Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stranger.
stranger is better than, or perhaps you're wondering why you're
Yeah,
shooting him
okay.
flying out of a plane, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's a better start,
Because
right?
because there's a tongue-in-cheek comedy factor to Bane that
Yeah.
doesn't exist with Joker.
yeah, he just speaks in these
It's
like
it's
weird
almost
riddles.
like it's almost like in a lot of ways that Bane is the ridiculously legitimate one.
Yeah.
Whereas Joker's the totally legit one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, and the way they deal with their, but Bane can actually fight, which is like my favorite thing about it is that they fight.
And then Joker's fighting is kind of crappy.
It's like a joke because it's. I mean, he even says he's like, you think that I'd run all my chips and facing you hand to hand or whatever?
Yeah, right,
One on one. God, you know
Who's
what?
more frightening?
Who's more frightening? Who would you rather be caught in an alley with late at night?
Neither of them.
Right? They're both gonna kill you. I think I'd rather be caught in an alley with Bane because I think he would just snap my neck, whereas the Joker would like do something terrifying.
Sell an explosive cell phone into the lining of your stomach.
Something like that. Damn. Okay.
Bane is so frightening. I think Bane's scarier.
They're so. I can't. Okay. So more enjoyable. The pen through the eye, the pencil through the eye is one of the greatest things ever. Throwing the money at Mr. Lau.
Yeah.
I gotta go Joker too. I
real-
really wanted to
I
go
know, me
Bane
too.
because I
It's-
love him so much. I quote him endlessly.
Yeah.
But it's Joker.
It really
man.
does feel like Bane is so much more of the ridiculously legit villain for us because he's so much more quotable for us than the Joker. Like Joker's not really quotable. He's like memorable.
Yeah.
He's just not. We don't say his lines all the time.
I think, and exactly, and I think it's for the exact point that I told you is that like, what if you go around trying to like you just
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
come off like a loser, whereas like Bane, everyone because it is the tongue in cheek and it is kind of playful that like
Okay, so then
It's easier to do.
On the other hand, like this is the only other portrayal of Bane ever in a movie is god awful, and it's in Batman and Robin, and it's the whole
God, it was amazing. Bane.
And,
Yeah, it's really bad.
But there's multiple other portrayals of Joker, and they're all entertaining to some degree, and also like a little bit derivative. So it does feel in some ways like Ledger had the easier time creating a character. Even though Ledger's performance is superior, there's more of a basis. Tom Hardy literally had all that stuff we're talking about, all that weird shit, like him putting his hand on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And the strangeness of the voice and the way that he walks.
And the cadence and like,
the stuff with his fingers. You know, when he's standing and he's doing this with his fingers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He like moves his fingers really quickly.
Yeah, when he's...
It's like fucking weird. I don't know. Yeah, that way that he talks is so strange. I don't know.
I love the fact that, like, when his mouthpiece gets broken, he's like immediately crippled.
Yeah.
Like there's just so many cool things about Bane. I wish I was doing research right before the show, and it was like 8 distinct characteristics of Tom Hardy's Bane that separate him from the Joker, and I wish I would have had time to look at it.
Yeah.
I didn't. So go look at that article, maybe, is what I'm trying to say.
There's like...
the acting with the eyes is like, as an actor... That is one of the most impressive things.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite moments is when he catches his hand.
Yeah.
And then he kind of is like, he's like looking at him ashamed because he says, victory has defeated you. And it's just like this look in his eyes of just disappointment.
Yeah.
That I just...
Because he thought he'd be like a worthy adversary.
Yeah. It's just amazing. So... As much as you just sit there and talk about how awesome Hardy is, it's like you still got to go Joker.
How can you not?
How can you not?
It's like the greatest performance of our lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Other than Julianne Moore and Magnolia.
Of course.
Love. All right, so let's continue through the show here. Let's get into star profiles.
Yep.
It makes me so sad that there's not a live audience for this one, because I feel like people would be really on board with talking Bane versus Joker, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but hopefully in the live chat when this does air,
Yeah,
after
hopefully we'll be able to check it
we're
out.
both dead.
Yeah. I really want to see... I feel like most people probably side with us. As much as people love Hardy,
Yeah.
it's got to go there.
I think we also have an irrational love for Hardy. I mean, I know you do.
I do.
You have a Hardy
I
boner the
absolutely
most
do.
of anyone.
Hardy hard on. So Kristian Bale's 3 most recent films. This was a really interesting time in his career because he was definitely on his way up. He'd been Batman, but I think he was kind of having a trouble like figuring out what the next step of his career was going to be.
Yeah, this is his like post... Like what it is with Kristian Bale, if you go back to the beginning, there's like Empire of the Sun and Newsies and all the stuff in the 80s and 90s, and then he really becomes like a man, like he's a full-grown man in American Psycho, and that's like 2001 or 2000.
That movie's so good.
Yeah, and so it's like he was one of those guys that was like a sex icon. Women loved him. Women and men loved him. I mean, he was just this gorgeous guy who was very talented. And then it's around the time that he's Batman that his career like next levels.
Yeah.
He gets to that like household name level, and that's when honestly
Terminators.
that's all.
things
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that.
I mean, his next, so pretty much from 05, I would say, from Batman Begins to about 2012, he's on like a crazy run.
He's like the biggest superstar actor in the world.
He's like as big as it gets. Like
Yeah.
it's like him and Leo, because it's like it's like 05 is Begins, and then
6 is
06 is
Departed.
Prestige, and he does like 310 to Yuma in 07, and he does like Dark Knight in 08. He's got The Fighter that he wins the Oscar for in 2010, Public Enemies in 09, Terminator. He just was doing all these major movies.
Yeah, and then you go to the other side of it and you look at Tom Hardy, and this is the ignition of the rocket that is Tom Hardy, and he does Warrior in 2011.
Well documented.
You guys know how we feel about that movie.
Yep.
This Means War in 2012, which is like the big A-list stupid rom-com. You got Chris Pine, Reese Witherspoon, Tom Hardy.
Miss Roxy Strider loves that movie, one of her favorites.
I've heard it's actually really good.
I've never watched it.
I still haven't either, but I heard it's actually really good. Marissa, you like that movie? She left us. Yeah. And then I love this movie. I think a lot of people... I think it's Jason Clarke's best role. I think Shia is awesome in it, and Tom Hardy is just cool. Lawless, 2012.
Tom Hardy like literally gets his head cut off and reattaches it.
He really does. He like gets his neck sawed off. He gets shot a bunch. Yeah, it's hilarious. So
I like Lawless. I think it's totally good. What I actually wonder is who directed Lawless, because I feel like that's
actually
the
just looked this up the other day.
kind of thing. Is it John Hillcoat? Maybe that doesn't sound right. It's like somebody that I think we maybe know. Who
It
he
is. Let me look it up. I know this. I literally just looked this up like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything.
Or like somebody, one of the Planet of the... What?
It is Hillcoat.
Is
It
John
is
Hillcoat?
Okay. Nice. There you go. There you go.
I knew that. I was just showing.
Yeah, sure you were. Okay, so moving into production development. This is just classic Nolan, produced by all the people that he works with, written with him and his brother. His brother's Jonathan Nolan. Jonathan Nolan and him, they have written a lot of movies together, including Memento, The Dark Knight Trilogy, The Prestige, Interstellar. You wonder where Chris would be without his brother.
And you wonder where his brother would be without him.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
they've both done a lot of stuff. I mean, Jonathan Nolan is behind Westworld. He was a huge person behind Person of Interest,
Yep.
which is like a big show. Yeah, both very, very successful. David Goyer, one of the writers on this film, wrote all of the films with them, as well as tons of other stuff. He is the
Blade
guy,
Trinity.
He's the guy that we've referenced many times. Goyer graduated from USC in 1988 and sold his first screenplay for Death Warrant in 1989,
Yes.
which starred Jean-Claude Van Damme. With his first paycheck, he bought a new Isuzu Trooper, which was
Yes.
stolen the very first night he drove it home.
Yeah, one of my favorite Hollywood stories. First of all, Isuzu Trooper, and then someone decided to steal an Isuzu Trooper.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and then Chris Nolan, I mean, where do you even begin?
He's probably going to, I think, that Dunkirk is going to win Best Picture this year. Many people disagree with me.
Yeah, I actually talked to my buddy, who is the vice president of distribution over at Fox Searchlight.
Yeah.
So he did Shape of Water and
Yeah.
3 Billboards. He is almost positive Nolan's not going to win anything because the Academy just hates Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Which is such a bummer. I would like to see Dunkirk win something. I don't think it will though.
It's going to just totally miss.
I just feel like there's something with him in the Academy. The fact that Christopher Nolan has never been nominated for Best Director until now, and that
yeah.
he's only been nominated for Best Picture once for Inception.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just crazy with the amount of work that he's done.
And great work, too.
Incredible work.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. I probably totally miss on this one, but I just have this sneaking suspicion that this is the year that he gets recognized, and that Shape of Water, as great as it is like a movie that I think a lot of... I mean, maybe 3 Billboards wins, and it's just nothing to do with Dunkirk, but I don't know. I have my suspicions. This film is produced by Charles Roven, co-founder of Atlas Entertainment. Him, Emma Thomas. We've talked about this crew now several times.
Yeah, Emma Thomas is his wife. They do everything together. They met at the University College of London, and she and him are just like one of the coolest power couples in Hollywood.
Yep. Absolutely. Nolan continues to just make great stuff, and I'm very excited to see what his next 10 to 15 years looks like.
Me too, because he's not going to have anything to do with comic book movies. He's going to step away from that world for so long that it's just like, I mean, he already did the war film, but when's the next Memento coming? You know, that type of movie. When's the next?
Yeah, he'll keep making it. He already made his big
Prestige.
sci-fi movie. Yeah, he'll probably make some incredible bank robbery crime movie, I'll bet.
What if he did a badass horror? What if he did Annihilation? Something like that.
Wild.
Yeah.
I just Inception to me, and every time I go back and watch that movie, I'm always just sort of blown
What's
away by
Nolan's best movie? This isn't even something we're going to discuss today, but what is his best film?
Well, remember when Dunkirk came out, I went and did that top 10.
Oh, you did. What
Remember
was
that?
your number one?
Inception.
It was Inception.
Dark Knight number 2.
Yeah, I think you have to do that.
I think my
Inception's
ranking was
so good.
Inception, Dark Knight, Prestige, Memento, Begins, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Rises.
Do we rank them on
Insomnia following?
we rank them on the Dunkirk
We might have
episode?
done. Yeah, we might have.
Yeah, that sounds right. He's just the greatest. So let's go into box office and critical, which, if you guys know The Dark Knight, it is basically just breaking numbers all over the place. So Warner Brothers, produced this movie for $250 million. It was a summer movie released in July of 2012, the 20th. I know that I saw that in theaters. I'm sure you did as well.
Oh, twice.
Yeah. It grossed $448 million domestically, an additional $636 million foreign, for a grand total of $1,008 million. And in its opening weekend, it made $160 million.
No, 1.08.
What did I say? $1,008 million?
Oh, yeah, you said 8 million.
Yeah.
I thought you said 800 million.
No, I didn't.
It would actually be 1,080 million.
Oh, yeah, because it'd be 2 zeros.
Yeah.
So we were both wrong.
We're both dead.
We're both dead.
Callback.
Callback. So critically, this movie has an 8.4. It's number 65 on the greatest movies of all time on IMDb, which
Fucking preposterous. It's a great movie, but this is not the 65th best movie ever made.
It can't be.
There's so many things. I said that I hate the Alfred stuff. I really don't like any of it.
Yeah. So let's talk now, because I think we've got a little bit of extra time right now. Talk to me about Alfred and the other scenes that you hate in this movie.
There's just a lot of stuff in this movie that I think is kind of silly. So I think that all the stuff, the No Man's Land stuff, when Gotham goes to shit, and there's like all the crews running around trying to get back to it. I think him like doing push-ups to heal his broken back in the prison is absurd. I think.
Do you think him escaping the prison is absurd?
No, I think that's fine. But then he escapes the prison, and despite the fact that he's broke and has nothing and is in the middle of a desert with a newly healed broken back, like somehow manages to within like a day or two, or maybe it's weeks. I've seen people complain about this.
I'm not a billionaire, but I'm pretty sure if I was a billionaire, I'd be able to access my money pretty quickly, no matter where I was in the world.
I don't know. And then like there's just stuff that's like kind of silly, like. There's just a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I guess I don't love
Catwoman always showing up when some person robs someone else that shouldn't.
Yeah,
that they shouldn't rob.
I really don't like the Alfred storyline in this movie at all. I hate the story about seeing you at the cafe and then they're at the cafe
at the end. There's
just stuff in this movie where I'm like, this movie is 25 minutes too long. If you had literally just made it Batman versus Bane and that was the story,
taking out Alfred,
it just would have been better. It's like you're doing like a callback to like a traumatic moment in a previous movie in the series that like it just doesn't feel necessary.
And you're also like completing Alfred's dream that he had.
Yeah, it's weird.
So I get that. I understand that. But for me, it still doesn't fall apart as much as the end of Dark Knight.
The ending of Dark Knight
is real bad for me. Yeah. Like I have a really hard time watching that. Whereas like all those moments, they're kind of filtered in throughout the movie, so whereas the end of Dark Knight, I'm just like, I just want this to be done.
There's also the Robin stuff. There's too many characters in this movie.
Yeah, JGL is a great role, but you wonder if they needed to call him Robin.
No, they definitely didn't.
Just to inject it.
What the fuck? Why? What's the point?
Yeah, we're not going to see it.
Yeah. There's just no need for
Nolan's ever going to direct
Robin
another
doesn't
movie.
even exist in this world.
It's fair. So all critics give it an 87. Top critics give it a 75, and the audience gives it a 90, which, I mean, that makes sense.
It's the formula for our show. Makes sense.
But so we had another thing that we wanted to talk about, and that's the better opening.
Yes.
Because Christopher Nolan, when he made this movie, he specifically said, if you were blown away by the intro of The Dark Knight, then get ready to kick it up 10 notches in The Dark Knight Rises.
And it's an argument, which is the better opening.
Yeah. And in this one, I am 100% in for The Dark Knight Rises.
You think there's a better opening?
I love The Dark Knight. I love the heat feeling about it. I like the bank robbery. I think it's genius with the bus and the killing everybody, and I like that. But the precision that they take that plane over and like bolt things into the side of it with a bigger plane and like they turn it vertical and it rips the wings off.
And the wings break off. That's one of the coolest parts.
It's just genius. And and they did it practically. So like for me watching that, and to hear Christopher Nolan, the creator himself, be like, I'm going to do a better job, even if it was just more flash and bang, I got to go with the intro to TDKR, man. It is so badass. You get
so
Bane
crazy.
And
he blows up the thing, and then they come down the shaft of the plane, and they the blood transfusion with Pavel.
Yeah, and I love that but we started the fire.
Yeah.
He's like,
brother.
Yeah,
I need to find one of us in the wreckage.
And the guy just goes,
oh, fire rises.
Okay, yeah. Fire rises. Yeah,
and he goes, now is not the time for fear, later. Fear comes later.
And then
and
the plane drops, and they're just hanging over the world.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
It's so cool. Yeah, it's so amazing. You've got Aidan Gillen in there just being just a weirdo.
Yeah.
So was getting yourself caught part of the plan? Of course.
Of course it was. Yeah.
Of course. So what do you do next? Crashing this plane.
The plane.
I'm leaving no survivors.
Yeah. It's amazing. And it's the intros to both of them is incredible.
You know what, though?
Are you doing it? Are you going to do it?
I think so.
God damn it, Bateman.
I love the intro to this movie, and it is a strong argument for being greater. It's certainly technically harder to pull off. But again, I think that the intro to Dark Knight's more iconic. I think it's like the precision.
I mean,
I
think it is more iconic because the movie's more iconic.
And the way that it's set up, and like just the first line, 3 of a kind, let's do this.
Yeah.
I know why they call him the Joker. Like, and the music and everything. I don't know.
There's a longer build up to the Joker, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's the scenes about the same length, there is a longer build up to him actually talking because he's like.
I love that first 7 minutes of that movie.
So good.
I mean, I adore. Maybe it's a 50-50 split on this one. It's a little harder to make the decision, but they're both incredible and just super cool and like.
It is crazy to think that we're having these two conversations on this show.
Yeah.
Like that we're actually comparing the two of them and comparing the two entrances when like to 90% of the rest of the world, it's
Yeah.
like not even a conversation to have. It'd be a waste of their time.
I just think TDKR is like such an I mean, when Collider did it on Top 50, I think it was number 36. Feels pretty low.
That's so low.
Feels some of the movies that were ahead of it were like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, they're just really bad ones.
The Crow was ahead of him pretty
Crow was ahead of covered that on here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, it is. It's got to be his most underrated film in his whole catalog. Nolan.
Yeah, what's funny is when I think back to that top 10 list that I made, I don't know that anything moves. I still think Insomnia is his worst movie. I still think Following is second to last. The only ones that would move around for me if I was really going to move would be Rises, Dunkirk, Interstellar. Because Memento's still 4 and Prestige is still 3. So it's like, I think Begins is better than all the other ones we just mentioned, but maybe Begins is a little lower for me. Maybe it's TDKR at 5 and it moves up like 3 spots or something, but I don't know. It's
So I hope this doesn't get us in trouble. Actually, I just won't be specific. So there's another very big director that Collider is going to do a series on. They just did a superhero one. They're going to do it on a huge director, and I'm sure that you could probably figure out who it is. And we had to pick our 10 favorite movies from him.
Yeah.
I think it's harder to do Nolan's top 10 than it is to do that guy's top 10. For me, because it's not because they're not as good, but it's because the drastic difference between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for me with him is so much bigger. Whereas with Nolan, the difference in points between 1 and 5 is like it's so small,
marginal. And like I have so much more affection for Nolan. I mean, Nolan to us is just a filmmaker that really connected with us growing up. He's a guy who made his best movies when we were exactly the age we were talking about. His best movies all came out when we were like 17 to 25.
Yeah.
You know, like he seriously made like in the time that we went from like high school age to college age to like young adults, that's when all of his most impactful movies were released. So it's not surprising that we like Nolan like the most. He's our guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's our guy. He really understood what movies were becoming for us when we were understanding what movies were.
If you were 17 in like 1978.
Yeah, exactly. The other dude would have
the movies that you'd have that would have come out between then and the mid 80s would just be like amazing.
Yeah,
just amazing. So,
yeah, it's an interesting conversation, but I definitely think for me in our lifetime, Nolan is probably he's my great. He's the GOAT for me.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so this is kind of ridiculous and redundant, but moving on, we've got favorite line.
Favorite line.
Favorite line. We have to say them in our Bane voices.
Yeah, I think there's zero question that they're all just gonna be Bane lines, but
yeah, I mean, there's mine is how you can take so much and leave so little for the rest of us. Is it good? Is it sexy like she did it?
You did a really good job.
Are you uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think.
Are you uncomfortable? No.
I think that probably Bane has all my favorite lines. I mean, the one thing we didn't mention that I do really love about this movie, and it's not a favorite line, but I do love the way they set it up so that Bale, when he makes his first comeback as Batman,
Gets
that first
his ass
night.
kicked.
No, that he goes and puts on a show, and he's
yeah.
and he's just you're kind of like you're this like over the hill. Kind of like you're just like living on the ego of the past, and like, as much as like you don't want it to be about putting on a show, you totally do want.
You totally put on a fucking show, and you got the bat wing and everything, and even the cops like, oh, you're in for a show tonight.
Yeah,
Put that thing
exactly.
away before you hurt yourself.
You know, he's like, I'm showboating, I'm Batman, I'll fight harder, and it's
Yeah.
like you know his ego got to him. I like that. I like that.
These
part of the
guys,
movie.
these aren't your average boss. Neither am I.
Yeah,
You know, and then it is the perfect turn with him just getting destroyed by Bane.
Yeah, the stock exchange. There's so much in this movie I love.
So my actual favorite line in the whole movie is the "You think darkness is your ally."
Yeah, right.
It's my favorite one. It's just written so well, and the scene, and it's long, so I won't do the whole thing since I basically did it when we watched the scene. But yeah, you think darkness is your ally, and I think my favorite part of it is that he says, "I was born in the dark."
Yeah.
And by the time that I saw light, I was already a man, and to me, it was blinding.
Yeah.
It's just such a cool line. Yeah, so that's my favorite line.
I think maybe for me it's you fight like a much younger man, holding nothing back.
admirable.
Yeah.
But mistaken.
I love that line, and I also do love when he says, "Victory has defeated you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my second one is a theatricality and deception. Yeah, are powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated,
Bruce?
aren't we, Bruce? And it's just like I also one of my fist pumps in that scene too that I didn't mention was when he says his name the first time and it cuts to Hathaway and you see her face.
Yeah.
She's like, that crippled old man who I knocked over, like that is gonna fight Bane.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, dead.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, do you guys have a favorite line? I feel like we've probably covered every
All
single
of the
person's favorite line
lines, yeah,
ever in this
we
movie.
must have.
But if we didn't, throw them in the chat, throw them up on the page. Ben and I are dead, so we won't ever see them.
You mentioned it a fourth time. It's only funny the third time.
No, man, comedy works in fours. Isn't that what they say?
So anyway, guys, there are only a couple of segments left on the show. One of them is the 3 action movie count. It's a long day.
It's a very long day.
We've recorded 4 videos today.
Luckily
so-
for us, I hope everyone's just watching and laughing along with this episode.
Hopefully. Yeah, hope so. There's only one last thing left, and that's the 3 action movie categories: totally ridiculous, totally legitimate, ridiculously legitimate. Which, if you're watching this, you probably know what those categories are.
Do you think that there's one for each of these, or do you think because Dark Knight? No, I think Dark Knight and Batman Begins were both totally legit for us. Legit. See, I think Batman Begins might have been in the middle category for you.
I think they're all totally legit.
Yeah.
I just think even the bad stuff in this movie doesn't lose me. I don't
No.
start laughing. Bane's terrifying.
Yeah,
he's
Bane's
great.
and he's one of my favorite performances ever.
He
And
snaps Pavel's neck in the football stadium.
yeah, it's sweet in
Yeah.
front of like thousands of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever a moment in any of the films, but since we're just talking about this one, where I lose it. So I'm gonna have to say it's totally legitimate.
I agree. Totally
Yeah.
legit. Yep. No question. All right. So what else we got?
No, I feel like we could probably just talk about something else a little bit more. What about your most quotable villains of all time? Do you have anyone in there that just pops into your head?
Most quotable villains.
Because I mean, Joker and Bane are two of the greats. Hummel is definitely one of them.
Hummel's-
I love Khrushchev.
Yeah, Krushnov. Yeah, we used to do the top. We used to rank our villains. I mean, Hans Gruber is really quotable.
Bill
I
Clay.
think one of the things that makes a villain great is their quotability. So Vader.
Yeah, you gotta have sweet lines.
Yeah, I think like a lot of the best
Tavington.
ones. Tavington, Dark Horse. It's Dark Horse
Well,
choice.
you're like, who the fuck is Tavington? Yeah,
You're like Darth Vader, the Joker, Tavington from the
Tavington
Patriot.
from the Patriot, one of my favorites of all time. What he is, he's amazing.
Yeah, the day that like I introduced Jason Isaacs, and I'm like, you're on the same level as like Darth Vader and the Joker.
He'd be like, don't be a dumbass.
It's Tavington, the Patriot.
I like tried to sell someone. I had someone over the other night. We were trying to figure out what movie to watch.
Yeah.
And they were like, we could do Gladiator, Dark Knight Rises, and I was like, The Patriot is a really good film. And if you like, she was like, no, we're not gonna watch that.
I'm gonna watch the Patriot.
We ended up watching Dark Knight Rises, which was perfect.
Solid choice.
Whatever. Tavington's my favorite.
He's great. So, guys, we don't have a movie to throw in the pitch here because we don't know when this is airing, and we're dead.
And we're dead. We're not actually dead, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully this will
It'd be
air.
really tragic if this aired after we died.
And, yeah, this is actually the last episode anyone ever sees of us. That's not true. That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So, with the time you do see this, probably if you go to the Action Movie Anatomy fan page on Facebook, watch this. Is just going to air next week, and people
Yeah,
are like,
right. People are
what
like, what
the
is
matter
wrong
with
with
guys?"
these two people?
You will be able to vote
do we
on
watch
a
them?
movie. So that's what I think is going to happen. Is this is going to air, and probably they'll be voting on movies that can be done by you guys.
Yeah, I think the reason for that is just because, like we said, we don't know when this is going to air. We don't know if there's going to be big movies coming. There's so many big movies coming out in
Getting close to-
2018.
we're getting close to summer, guys.
Summer, yeah.
We're almost into March, so it's not that far away.
And I know I've got a movie pass. I know you've got a movie pass.
I've got a movie
We will
pass.
be covering a lot of new movies coming out.
Yeah. So patreon.com/Team Action if you guys want to go get additional content every single week.
Yeah, you can find me at Andrew Ghai on Instagram and Twitter. You can find the podcast at AMA Podcast. And we've got 2 Facebook fan pages, Ben.
I mentioned one of them.
You did.
I did.
Which is the one you didn't mention.
Action Army.
Is anyone still listening to this episode?
This was a disaster.
This was not. We were like, this is going to be the easiest episode ever. We're like, we just wanted to watch that action. We just hope the action scene was like way longer.
We're like, an idiot can talk about this movie. No.
Not these two idiots.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's going to wrap us up. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Follow along on the Twitters and all the things. I'm Ben Bateman Media.
I am at Andrew Ghai, and we will see you bright in sunny California next Wednesday, whatever Wednesday it is. Could be in
Whatever
2019.
Yeah, we're not lying about that one.
Yeah, we're not.
All right.
Bye,
Bye, guys.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.